Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
Regina, Saskatchewan, Saturday. Ryder Varga, Lions linebacker, 2022 draft pick, I believe a third rider. He's from Regina, went to the University of Regina, pick 6, 11 yards for the BC Lions. However, they end up losing that game to the Riders by a score of 30-27. And you know what I want to talk to Giulio about?
Uniforms.
Those uniforms. Those fog grays, the debut of the fog grays for the Lions looked outstanding as we bring in Lions analyst Giulio Caravatta. Giulio, thanks for doing this, sir. How are you?
I'm good, guys. How are you?
Very good. How did the fog? You know what I'm like, Giulio. I love my uniforms.
Yeah. Oh,
how did they look?
A blast from the past. From a blast from the past, yeah. Because when I played, we had those fog gray pants. We didn't have the tops, but the pants. I loved them. They look great. I loved how the teams are kind of changing it up a little bit and trying some new things. And I thought they looked fantastic. And it was too bad it wasn't a better result. But for a first preseason game, I think everything went pretty well.
Lions host Calgary Thursday at BC Place. They'll wear their road fog grays in that game,
Again.
and then they'll for the home opener they'll debut the blacks. So, what was your takeaway? What stood out? Who stood out for you, Giulio, on Saturday? Lions-wise.
You mentioned Ryder Varga. I think he looked very good. Obviously, very comfortable, and showed himself very well. And I think everybody was talking about Aiden Eberhardt, the young receiver from the University of Wyoming. I think what makes this such a great story is just that he was completely overlooked by everybody because, it's typical of football, and I think especially with, statistics, mean so much. What's your 40 time? What do you bench? All those kinds of things. And Aiden was just, he runs a 4.6, not very fast, but he's just one of those kids that is in the right spot at the right time, really understands defense. That was one of the things that jumped out at me was, when he caught the ball, he really, he was turning and moving away from defenders. Like, in zone coverage, when everyone's got an area, like when he catches a ball, he knows where the next defender is coming from, and he spins and goes away from those kinds of things. So that to me really jumped out. And it's not that, he had I think he had 7 catches for over 100 yards, 104 yards, I think. But I think it was the kind that how contested they were. There was a couple of really spectacular catches, especially one. He came out of his break and actually got tripped up and was actually stumbling and almost looked like he was going to fall, and then was able to recover and catch the ball. It was pretty spectacular. So he jumped out at me. Giovanni Robinson actually is a really cool story too. He's a young man who played professional basketball.
Touchdown.
Didn't play much. Yeah, and he's 6'8". He played basketball, and he had 5 targets, caught all of them, and I was impressed with him. Like, obviously you want your receivers to, catch with your hands, but there's, and I know he played basketball, but, in football, because he hasn't played very much, the tendency a lot of times is for the ball to come into your body. Like, you allow your body to kind of be that backbone, and for him, everything was out in front with his hands. He's got big hands, and I thought he fared very well. So, those two guys offensively, I would have liked to have seen a little bit more from the 2 running backs, Antonio Williams and Smoke Mazzell, but I think that it maybe is a little bit more of an indication up front. They played a lot of young guys. I'm sure there was a lot of missed assignments, so I'm excited to see what those 2 guys will do on Thursday when most of the starters will start to play up front.
Giulio, no Vernon Adams in this game. They went and played the other 3 quarterbacks. Your thoughts on Dane Evans, Dominique Davis, and obviously Judd Erickson was cut this morning. So how did the quarterbacks look?
I thought, Dom, I think Dom Davis, I thought that he just had that one mistake, where he was stepped up into the pocket, and I think he wanted to throw kind of more across his feet or his body, and his feet weren't set, and he kind of lofted one up there and it got picked off. I'm sure he wants that one back. But, I think there was a couple of throws there, too, that he had drops. But Dane Evans, I thought, looked exactly what you would think a veteran quarterback does in a first preseason game. You're playing against a lot of rookies. You're playing against man-to-man coverage and simple zone because that's how you're being evaluated. So you want your starter, or you want a guy who's a veteran, to be, upwards of 80% completion. I think he was 13 of 16 for 162 yards. He had a touchdown. He had another touchdown that was dropped. So I was, I was, it was what I expected from those two guys, right? You're a veteran quarterback playing in a first preseason game. You expect to put up pretty good numbers. They didn't disappoint. So, the next test is going to get a little bit more difficult, but I thought that they both looked good and comfortable.
We've talked about the offense. What about the defense? Coach said they gave up too many deep balls.
Yeah, that they have, again, they played a lot of man-to-man coverage, and, when you do that, and you're doing it for a reason. You're doing it because you want to see if the guys can cover. And you're right, they did throw a lot of deep balls, and, to Saskatchewan's credit, those passes were right on point. But at the same time, in order to make the football team as a defender, you've got to be able to find a way to make that play, right? Like they're in position, but they just weren't able to make, that play where you can get your hand up there or get a knockdown or something that's really going to separate you. And I know a few of those guys this morning were let go. And so that's the reality of pro sports, especially in the CFL, where you really only get one game if you're a rookie to impress. And, it's a pretty brutal process. So you get that one chance, and if it doesn't work out for you, you're out on the street. So, not the best for some of those young guys, but just the reality of pro sports.
Hey, Giulio, I should know this. Jonathan Kongbo, I'm not sure if he played on Saturday, but what is he going to do for what is he going to do for the BC defense?
Yeah.
For people that don't know, two-time Grey Cup champion with Winnipeg, played in the NFL the last couple of years. Lions have signed him. What's he going to do for them?
Yeah, and a local guy too, right? He's went to Holy Cross High School. Yeah. He's an impact player. Really, he comes off the edge. He's a big physical guy who's got tremendous speed and quickness. And I think the other big part of this is, Jonathan's a very good football player, but when you add that he's Canadian, that brings another dimension into it because you're playing a position traditionally that's not occupied by a Canadian. In the Lions' case, they have Jonathan Kongbo now. They have Matthew Betts. And they also have David Menard. So they have three guys who are playing the defensive end position that are more than capable of starting for you. And in Jonathan's case, all the physical attributes you bring, I just got a chance to talk to him briefly, and he just seems like a very, very nice young man who's really committed to the team. They've been around Grey Cup champion culture in Winnipeg. And when you bring that kind of mentality, it seeps through everybody. And same for Michael Couture, right? You can never add enough of those kinds of character guys that know what it takes to win championships and do nothing but improve your locker room. So you don't only get a great football player, you're also getting a guy that's going to fit into your locker room and really kind of, I think, raise the level. And the flexibility now for Neil McAvoy and Rick Campbell, ratio-wise, because they have guys all over that can really, as Canadians, that can play. So anytime you have those kinds of guys, Donnie, you're gonna create more flexibility for yourself roster-wise each and every week, and that is a very, very key component in all of this.
Before I let you go, Giulio, assume you were up in Kamloops. How busy is that city right now? Memorial Cup, Lions training camp. Be awesome to be there.
Well, I spent the week up there. I just came back last night.
Oh, okay.
But you're right. The Memorial Cup is going on. I know the city is really super excited. I also was very, very disappointed because I don't know if you know this, but Thomas Milich, the goalie for Seattle, is my neighbor.
Wow.
Yeah, so I really wanted to get a chance to see him play. And unfortunately, they played on Friday night. We traveled, and then they're playing again tonight, and I wasn't going to be there. So. Unfortunate for me, but I'm really pulling for Thomas. He's such a great kid, and the atmosphere up there, you're right, is tremendous. Everybody was talking about the tournament and looking forward to it.
Team Canada goalie. Hey, Giulio.
Right.
Okay, and I realize you weren't able to see games there, but what can you tell us about the Baron of Beef situation in Kamloops?
The Baron of Beef.
Across from the hotel.
What am I missing?
Well, across from the hotel. Come on, across from the hotel we used to stay at there in Kamloops every year was a place called On the Rocks that had the best Baron of Beef I've ever had.
That's right.
You know what I'm talking about. Give
Come
us
on,
an update.
Julio. You know it.
Yeah.
I know. I'm sorry. I apologize. You're right. If you would have said On the Rocks Baron of Beef, I would
There
have
you
been
go.
like, oh, okay,
Okay.
bang. I got you. I thought that was the name of the place. No, you're right. You know what? I didn't go there this time.
Oh my God!
I know. I can't believe it. I know. I didn't go. We went down the road there. There's another new restaurant just down the street the other way that we tried. So, but yeah, unfortunately, I didn't try the Baron of Beef. But I do remember that now. You were very, very impressed with that.
It was awesome, Giulio. Thanks for this. We'll get you back on soon.
I appreciate it, guys. Have a great day.
Okay, Giulio Caravatta.